Hello everybody, it's your creme de la creme French teacher Julien Moulin, and welcome back to another delightful lesson. Today we're going to learn how French thugs speak, not necessarily to talk like them, but just for you to understand that part of the French culture which for some reason is not as famous worldwide as opposed to croissant and baguette. But I think it's still very important because a lot of young people who are not thugs use the expressions we'll be learning on a daily basis. First of all, I think it's important to highlight the fact that the word thug might not be the most suitable one because it has a certain connotation in English, especially in the United States, which is not exactly the same in France, just because they have different historical and socioeconomic backgrounds. I guess we could say slang or street French, but since this is a language learning video, let me teach you the word we actually use in French. If you translate thug on the internet, it's probably going to give you the term voyou, which is the closest translation, I suppose. It's fundamentally the same, as it's a synonym of delinquent, with this image of a very violent person doing illegal and criminal activities. But to be honest with you, when I hear that word, it sounds a bit old-fashioned. So I would personally have the image of a 70-year-old woman shouting, "Attrapez-le, c'est un voyou!" Now, that being said, in today's internet meme culture, when we hear thug, we usually think of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's next episode. And back in the 70s, there was actually a movie called Le Voyou, in which the main character embodies the same definition of thug life. But we live in a different time now, and we have a new word in French, which is racaille. 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 Fun fact, the Pokemon Geodude was called Racaillou in French. Racaillou, which actually sounds like a mix between racaille and voyou. Racaillou. So the double thug. But I kind of understand what French translating team did there. You see, the Japanese original name is Ishitsubute, which I guess could be understood as either the stone-crushing hands or the crushing stony hands. Now, the word for stone in French is precisely caillou, so it's a pun between racaille and caillou. But if I were in charge of the team, I would have probably chosen something closer to the German translation Kleinstein, which of course rhymes very well with the name of the genius, but it just means small stone. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away here. Anyway, so here is a good piece of advice for language learners. When you learn a new word, Google it and go on the images tab, because even if you translate a word in your target language, what you have in mind in your mother tongue might not exactly be the same in the native speaker's imagination. So let's type racaille on Google to have a better understanding of the style and fashion we're talking about here. So they usually wear a cap and a soccer jacket, or this type of jacket we call doudoune in French, doudoune. Sometimes you'll see them wear their socks on top of their trousers like this. Finally, maybe the most important part are the shoes. The best you can hope for are the Nike Air Max from the TN series, also known in France as requin, which means shark. Man, I really wanted a pair when I was a teenager, and we're talking about 15 years ago now, so it's quite crazy that they're still so popular today. Now that we have a better understanding of how a French thug or racaille looks like, let's get down to business and study the way they speak. One word you should know is wesh. Originally, this word comes from Algerian Arabic, but today it's used in France in different ways to say hi, yo, or what's up. So you could try saying wesh, bien ou quoi? Wesh, bien ou quoi? Wesh, bien ou quoi? Which literally means hi, good or what? Or more naturally in English, hey, what's up? To which you could reply tranquille, tranquille, meaning relaxed or chill, or more literally, tranquil. The word wesh can also be used as an interjection, like when we use yo in English. Yo, what are you doing? Wesh, tu fais quoi là? Or you can place it at the end, tu fais quoi wesh? Though you could also use yo in French. Yo, tu fais quoi? This word is so popular indeed that you can actually use the noun wesh wesh or un wesh as a synonym of racaille. By the way, even though they're mainly guys, for some reason racaille is feminine, une racaille. So here are a few tips to improve your pronunciation. First of all, you want to lower your voice as much as possible. Well, actually there are racaille girls, but they do follow the same rule of lowering their voice. In any case, speaking with a high-pitched voice is not recommended. One thing that's gonna make you feel the difference is the pronunciation of the letters T and D followed by I or U. There is the affricate sound sh that squeezes in. Tu meaning you and D meaning say. Together, you say, tu dis becomes tu dis. Tu dis quoi là? Qu'est-ce que tu dis? T'as dit quoi? Which means, what are you saying, or what did you say? It's the same thing with the word we saw earlier, tranquille, which becomes tranquille. Wesh bien ou quoi? Tranquille. I hope you can tell the difference. But the most amazing thing is that an ocean away, here in North America, the Chiac, a French dialect spoken by Acadians, also shares the same phonetic variation. So for example, the word for panties in standard French, it's culotte, culotte, culotte. But in Chiac or racaille, it's gonna sound like culotte. Vas-y, mets ta culotte, wesh. I think this one might be harder to hear. Anyway, now you know how to say panties in French. Last but not least, you'll need to know Verlan. Verlan is a word that comes from à l'envers, which means both upside down and backwards. In this case, it's when you say the syllables of a word, but backwards. So for example, a very important one, well, for me at least, famille, famille, which means family. In Verlan, it's going to be mi-fa, mi-fa. Another one is cité, cité, which has the same root as the English city, but it evolved in a different way, and today it means the ghetto. So you could say Tessie, or the ghetto, la Tessie. For city, we would actually use the word ville. People in the US watching this video should know it because it appears in a lot of names, Nashville or Belleville, which literally means beautiful city. Now, the wonderful thing is that even the word racaille can be used in Verlan. Did you guess what it is? Very easy, it's Kaira, Kaira. Kaira. Lafouine, one of the most famous French rappers, actually released a song called Kaira for a life. Kaira for a life. This guy wants to embrace the French thug life. Now, other useful words, so the word woman in French is femme, in Verlan it becomes meuf. So if you want to say, I've got a girlfriend, you can simply say, j'ai une meuf. J'ai une meuf, j'ai une meuf. The word metro is very easy. Métro, in Verlan it becomes tromé. There are also occasionally some Verlan words borrowed from English. For instance, the word speed becomes de spi, but the meaning is slightly different. It means quickly. There's so many more words I'd like to teach you, but I'll let you practice these ones for now. And if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments, and I'll make another one with more Verlan words. So here comes the test. Could you guys understand this sentence?
Wesh, je suis dans le trop bien avec ma meuf là. On va tester en deux spi pour avoir un mi-fa.
Alright, let me give you a last one for the road. You probably already know the word for thank you in French. If you don't, it's merci, merci. And in Verlan, it simply becomes si mère, si mère. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know with a thumbs up. Don't forget to share and subscribe to support this channel, and I'll see you soon for more videos. Bye!